Hello, Shannon Waller here with Dan Sullivan, and welcome to the Inside Strategic Coach podcast. Now, today, Dan, we're going to talk about the Game Changer program before we've talked about what it takes to be a game changer. And I'm excited about this because a lot of our clients are wondering kind of what we're up to, what you're up to with the Game Changer program, because they've heard little bits about it. So I'm excited to kind of do a deep dive into what it is and how the progression works within Strategic Coach. So let's just quickly do a brief overview of what the Game Changer program is and how people can look at it, especially in the context of the Signature program and 10 Times.
I've had the 10 Times program since 2011, so we've been going for 6 years. But my experience ever since we started the Strategic Coach is that you start with what you have and with the audience and the clients who join Strategic Coach. And right from the beginning, it's been pure entrepreneurial. The whole program really started with my experience of doing one-on-one coaching with the Strategy Circle. The Strategy Circle was the first great structure and process of Strategic Coach, which I came up with in 1982. Did it one-on-one for 7 years, and then we started the workshop program in 1989. What's always been true is that whatever group you are in, there's kind of like a Pareto's law that about 20% of them will take everything that you coach and they'll really jump with it. They'll take a jump with it. And after a while, a sufficient number have taken a jump to some new level that you say, okay, I think we can create a higher level of the program. So we'll have 2 levels of the program. And I would do that, and then it led to our bringing in associate coaches. And so it's grown both in terms of the number of clients we have, the number of coaches we have, the number of cities that we're coaching in. And then all along, there's been a building block for every one of these programs, and we call them concepts or tools. So one of the very first concepts that we have is the lifetime extender. And then we have the time system with free focus and buffer days. And then we have the concept of unique ability. And then we have the concept of the largest check. And as I was putting together the next jump for us, which is going to happen kicking off in April of 2018, it's called the Game Changer Jump. So that's the name of the program, the Game Changer Jump. But I was thinking, because I like to integrate backwards when I create a new thing, you often say that Dan does 2 things. He innovates forwards and he integrates backwards. So I was integrating backward. I said, this new thing that I'm doing in April of 2018, how does this connect with someone coming into the Signature program? And I'm not the coach, and it's not necessarily Toronto. It may be another city, and they're sitting in on their very first Strategic Coach workshop. What is their connection to the very, very cutting edge of the program at the level I'm coaching right now? And I said, well, it's all game-changing. Everything that we do in Strategic Coach is a game change. So just the concepts that I named very quickly there at the beginning, if you just take the Signature program. So, for example, the lifetime extender, well, people will say that in an hour of thinking, it's just totally changed how they're looking at their lifetime, how long they're going to live, how they have to start taking care of themselves right now. So the whole game called Living Their Life just got changed. So it was a game changer. Same thing with free focus and buffer days. All their life, they've been thinking in the normal way that people think about time of weekends and work days and very limited amount of vacation time. And all of a sudden, they're looking at the time system. So we've changed the game of time. Obviously, unique ability. We've changed the whole game of how you look at yourself as an entrepreneur. And then the largest check, you're totally changed the whole notion in the game of getting checks. So what I began to realize is that there's a constant layering process of game changer concept on top of game changer concept. And then the whole game of how much money you can make in their industry changes. And some people go 10 times. People outside are looking at them and they're saying, I've never seen somebody in this industry run an organization like this. I've never seen them make this amount of money. I've certainly never seen anyone take that amount of free time. What you begin realizing that from top to bottom, from beginning to our furthest stretch out, the whole strategic coach is this very kind of finely tuned, interactive network of game-changing concepts and tools that as you get used to one level, you jump to the next level. So right now, we've had 6 years of the 10 times program where people really use 10 times as their normal way of thinking about their growth, which totally changes their game. And now what we want to do is that we want to create a special workshop, and we'll have 50 in the first group that starts. And all of these individuals are now doing a thing to change their game, which consists of doing collaborations with other innovators out in the marketplace to create a third thing. So I don't see it so much as a departure from everything we're doing. I just see it as the furthest stretch of hundreds and hundreds of game-changing concepts and tools that have built up in my mind, but certainly within the program for almost 30 years. And now it's taking on this new form. And it feels as natural as any of the other jumps that we've taken in Strategic Coach.
Well, that's exciting, and I think it's important to connect it to what people are doing in their first workshop of the Signature Program. In fact, I had dinner with a client in the Signature Program last night, and she said exactly the same thing. She was relating another experience she'd had. She says, just like the first years of Coach, where you just change your business so much based on the ideas. And every single workshop she comes back from, her saying, my brain is so full of ideas and new approaches and new ways of doing things. So it's completely true. This is simply an evolution of something that we've always been doing. Now, you have another way that you describe game changers, and that is the analogy you've used is Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a moment, because I think it's an interesting approach to looking at what we're actually seeing when we see people who look like they're doing something extraordinary. In fact, there's a foundation there.
The Hawaiian Islands are probably the most isolated major group of islands in the world because it's a huge distance from the California coast, and there's no islands really of any major sort between California and the Hawaiian Islands. And then you have to go another several thousands of miles before you hit any other islands. So you just see these isolated, lonely islands. But what you don't realize is where all of this started, and it's on the ground floor of the Pacific Ocean. And it's actually true that the islands that we're very familiar with, like Oahu and Lanai and Kahului and Maui, Molokai, all the different islands, the Big Island, they're actually a mountaintop. And if you go down to the ocean floor, each of the Hawaiian Islands is a taller mountain than Everest. There's lots of islands in the Hawaiian Islands that we can't see because they haven't broken water yet. But in the next 100 years, there will probably be another 5 Hawaiian Islands that the mountain has grown because these mountains are growing. We're just familiar with the part of the island that's above water, and that's why we know it. You can have homes on it, and you can land there in a plane, but there was millions and millions of years of growth of these islands. So what I'd like to consider that the 51st Strategic Coach clients who will be in the Game Changer program, they're the top of a very, very big mountain of growth where they have mastered previous Game Changer concepts and tools, and they've integrated them into their business and into their life. And now this next jump is just the next jump. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they've taken dozens and maybe in some cases hundreds of next jumps in their Strategic Coach career. A lot of them have 15 years. Some of them have 20 years experience in coach. And this is just the next thing. But the big difference here is the collaboration. Now they're going to collaborate with other innovators in the marketplace. Rather than think that I'm going to have all the capabilities that I need for my next jump inside my company, now I'm looking outside my company. And I'm collaborating with another innovator. And this can take many forms. It could be another entrepreneurial company, or it may be a particular platform that someone has created outside, and I'm going to collaborate with this platform in a way, and I'm going to include now someone else's unique capability in the marketplace as part of my next jump in the marketplace.
Well, that's an exciting, may or may not take the financial form of a partnership, but that's a very exciting form of cooperation and collaboration to look at what do I, as my company, do uniquely, and then what do you do uniquely, and how can we put that together and create a third thing that's brand new, that hasn't been seen before, but it's based in that growth, as you've talked about. It's not some crazy new wild idea. It's actually based in a lot of learning and a lot of experience. When we put those two things together, something new and magical can happen.
Yeah, and this requires a shift of mind. For example, I've often talked to entrepreneurs who have a favorite client in the marketplace, but it's mostly a transactional relationship in the sense that they may have had this client or customer for 15 or 20 years. The client or customer loves working with them. They love working with the customer. But as long as they think of it as a vendor-customer relationship, their mind doesn't go, what if we took what we do that the client and customer love so much and we applied it to what the customer and client is doing in the marketplace, and we're going to create a third thing in the marketplace. So an example of this would be, we have a client named Steve Krein from New York City, and Steve is very gifted in technology, and he was actually one of the few people that I've heard who was a big winner in the dot-com revolution in the 1990s because his timing was superb, and he got a big check. He's very, very fast to take action. He's one of the most remarkable people I've ever met, where he's just terrific at getting an idea and taking action. And he got this idea that there are a lot of health startups in the world, people coming up with new ideas for healthcare. It could be in any area of healthcare. And he said, what if I was to use my technological capability and I was to create an electronic network that would join all these healthcare individuals together? And then I used my knowledge of how I built a technological company. It was actually in the area of advertising in the 1990s. And then I went through and I became an IPO, and we got money in from the marketplace. And there was a timing. I knew I had to sell out, and I did. What if I was to use my knowledge of how to grow a company so that you could sell the company, it could go IPO, or you could bring in massive investment from the outside? But we had them all connected in the same system. And as a result of that, we could create this network of healthcare startups, and we would get massive amount of investment in from the big healthcare companies who really couldn't afford the type of research and the development that's being done with these little things. But we'd be interested in knowing when one of them has something that's really great. So he took that whole idea, created it. It's called a Startup Health Network. And essentially what he's done a collaboration between his technological capability and his knowledge how to produce a very valuable company in the marketplace. And he's done a collaboration with each one of these startups, but he's put all the startups together in a vast collaborative network. That's a game changer. Mm-hmm. That's a game changer. But you see, he's going outside. He's not competing. He's creating a vast network of collaboration out of doing that.
Well, I think that's one of the fascinating facets of the Game Changer program is that focus on collaboration instead of competition. Mm-hmm. And we know some clients who've taken what were their competitors, and they're now selling them services and products and platforms and experiences. So you actually expand your marketplace, which is kind of cool, but it takes a really, as you said earlier, a mindset, a perspective to look at how can I create value for people that I used to be in competition with. That's a different way of thinking.
Yeah. Like, for example, I have literally, I would say, 100 coaches in the Strategic Coach program who are entrepreneurial coaches. Okay. And people say, well, why are you teaching strategic coach concepts to people who are your competitors? And I said, well, because I've looked at what they're doing individually. When they first started coming in, I would sit down and I would talk to them what they're doing. And quite frankly, everybody's doing something unique. So I said, why would I cut myself off from learning from what they're doing just because I'm afraid they're going to learn what I'm doing? Not one of them that we've ever had in the program actually went into competition with us. The marketplace is so vast in coaching, and the number of different angles that you can take of helping entrepreneurs is so unlimited that the whole concept that they're my competitors is just meaningless to me. And there's a lot of money in the world. I don't need it all. I don't need it all. I mean, I'm going to make my money. They're going to make their money. I'm going to make my money. So the interesting thing is we're in an unusual historical time, one where not only is this collaboration that we're talking about, like what Steve is doing with all the startup health firms, but they can see that by being in a network where there are all these other startups, they have a common language and they can talk to each other, and everybody's growth is going to be speeded up because they're sharing information rather than trying to keep their information secret.
I love that. To me, that's the way that all of us grow, is my personal experience. So in the Game Changer program, the Game Changer Jump program, it's a lot about the mindsets, and also you've mentioned habits that are really key, because I'm sure people kind of can go back and forth. They're not always in that kind of abundance mindset where it's all good. They sometimes probably have bad cash flow days or something where they get into a little bit of scarcity. So what are some of the mindsets and habits that you think it's really important to reinforce in the Game Changer Jump program?
Well, the whole thing is that the Strategic Coach program right from the beginning is entrepreneurs sharing insights, information, and knowledge with other entrepreneurs. Okay, and there's real shortcuts that come about by doing that, okay? And then we jump to the 10 times level, and what's sharing is all the tips for how to grow 10 times, all the shortcuts, all the bypasses that you can learn to grow 10 times. So the first level is probably the richest sharing of entrepreneurial knowledge on the planet. Then the second level is the richest sharing of 10 times insights and wisdom on the planet. The third level, the game changer, is you have game changers talking about game changing. And so there's a whole knowledge base, there's a whole skill base of being a game changer. And you don't have to be a lonely individual out there doing everything for yourself. You can sit in a room, and in the course of the first workshop, I know, people are going to walk away with easily 20 shortcuts that day, which means that they aren't going to waste time in this. They're not going to waste money in this way. They're not going to waste energy. But they're going to be a game changer, and they're supported by 49 other game changers. I'm really on my toes with this one because when I go into something like this, I got equal parts of two types of fuel. One of them is 50% excitement. The other one is 50% fear. 50% excitement is, man, if we pull this off, this is just going to be the most amazing environment we've ever had. And 50% fear, what if I fall flat on my face? That's a good combination. I find any time where my fuel that I'm using for the next jump is 50-50 excitement and fear, I says, that's the right octane levels. I can really do that. But I'm growing. I'm growing because Strategic Coach is one of the game changers that's taking part of all the conversations in this community of game changers. So I'm really excited, but, I've done a little tests with this. Zoom is a wonderful new communication, so far superior to Skype.
It's a great communication technology.
So what I've done is I've put together a growing number of panels where I'll simply take 5 game changers that I've already identified and put them together, and I send an impact filter to each of them saying, this is what we'd like to achieve, this is my intention. And then we just go at it for about 90 minutes. And the transformation that takes place in each of them is really, and people are saying, I've learned so much from being here about how to think as a game changer. And can we get the contact information for all of us here we can share? And people are calling each other, and you said this and everything else. So in a little 90-minute example of what will take place in the Game Changer program, this is really remarkable what's going on there. And they're thinking at a different level. They're making plans at a different level. They're saying, gee, I've got some terrific resources with these other people, and we can talk that over. So here's the thing. Being an entrepreneur is a rare creature on the planet. It's only 5% of the working adult population who become entrepreneurial. Entrepreneurs who go 10 times is infinitesimally smaller. But then 10 times entrepreneurs who become game changers is even a more elect group. And yet I see, because of the way we've formed our program, like the Hawaiian island, is that everybody who goes into the very first workshop of the signature program now has a destination. And the framework that we use as we're going up the mountain in Strategic Coach is give yourself 25 years. Could you go from the very first workshop in the signature program to being a member of the Game Changer program? If I gave you 25 years, do you think you could do it? And people say, oh, sure. If I had 25, I said, well, give yourself 25 years. I mean, you're going to spend your time doing something over the next 25 years. Why not grow consistently and systematically, layer by layer, for 25 years so that your next jump is that you're in a community of game changers? And maybe you'll do it faster. I mean, maybe if I give you 25 years, you'll say, well, I don't need 25 years. Maybe I could do it in 5 years. Maybe I could do it in 10 years. But it's your call. It's your game. And this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. I've been thinking, is there a group higher than the Game Changers? I can't come up with anything. I said, the Game Changer is a game changer. Doesn't matter what kind of game it is. Doesn't matter what the changes are. That would be an ultimate great place for entrepreneurs to spend the rest of their life, in a community of game changers. But it's going to integrate backwards the entire Strategic Coach program, and that's one of the most exciting things about this. We'll know right from that first workshop in the signature program to the furthest extent of the Game Changer program that there's a unbroken series of concepts and tools that hold this whole thing together.
Which I think is very confidence-inspiring and reassuring at the same time. Dan, I love the idea that it's about mindset, that it's about habits, and it's about that community. Mm-hmm. You've always focused on uniqueness. When you can identify that with people and help them grow and expand it and shine the light on and attention on that, it expands. And I think that's what will happen with people in the Game Changer program, is that they will just have time and focus and energy and other people's intellectual and emotional commitment to helping them change their game. And that's, as you said, a very rare thing on the planet. Mm-hmm. And so if this is kind of the game that you're up to, then definitely make inquiries. And one thing I think we should also really make clear is it's critical that people have been in the 10 times program for at least a year.
Yeah.
It'd be very challenging to do the Game Changer program unless you have a self-managing company.
Yeah.
Unless you have your time freed up and you've bought back some of your time. So I think giving yourself 25 years or doing it when you're ready, not rushing into that, is also really, really important.
Yeah. It's another big jump, but you've been here more than 25 years, Shannon, and we've made a lot of jumps. But this is just the jump that I personally want to make at this stage. And it makes my future incredibly bigger than all the past that I have up until age 73. So what lies ahead of 73 going forward is incredibly bigger than everything that we've created up until now. And that makes me very excited.
Dan, I'm excited that you and we are up to playing an even bigger game than we have been until now. And I think it'll be a blast to do it with other very like-minded, excited, half excited, half scared people. I think that'll be a very enjoyable journey. Well, thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, please let us know at questions@strategiccoach.com. And Dan, thank you. I'm excited to hear about the new ideas and what you're excited about. I know that a lot of people will want to join you.
Thank you very much, Shannon.
Thank you.